Alright, hello math fans. Basically this video is just to derive the law of cosines. So this is the law of cosines. Alright, we're going to use kind of some similar ideas that we did with law of sines, and obviously we're going to be using trig functions here. So let's make a quick sketch. So it's triangle ABC, just labeling all my parts here. This is Y and this is X. And this is, of course, 0, 0. Okay, I think we got everything there. We have our sides angles labeled, our angles labeled. And of course we need our right triangle in there. That's really kind of the main thing to be able to derive the law of cosines. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this right triangle, and I can write a couple of formulas here. I can write sine of angle B is opposite over hypotenuse, so y over side C. And I can also say cosine of B is adjacent over hypotenuse, so x over C. And then I can solve each one of these, or cross multiply, and I get y equals, so it's over 1, y equals C times sine of B, and x equals C cosine of B. So basically what I have now, instead of x comma y in this at that location at angle A, I now have C cosine of B comma C sine of B. That's another way of writing that coordinate. Okay, so I have a couple things here. First of all, I have point C is A comma 0, and I have this new coordinate x comma y is C cosine B, C sine B. And what I want to do is I want to find the distance between those, okay, and that distance between those is B. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the distance formula, okay, because I have two coordinates, and I'll set up the distance formula. So here we go. Gotta leave a little bit of room here. So B is equal to, and it's really B squared, but I'm going to say B, I'm just going to take the square root right away. So B is equal to the square root of C cosine of B minus A squared. So basically x2 minus x1 squared plus y2, so C sine of B, y2 minus y1 squared. Remember, the distance formula is a sassy formula, so it's a subtract, add, and subtract. And don't forget, you got the squares there too. Okay, so I'm going to expand things out a little bit. So B is equal to square root of C squared cosine squared of B. Basically I'm foiling this out. Okay, minus 2 2ac cosine of b plus a squared. Okay, that's that FOILed out, and obviously we have three terms here now. And then that's at minus 0, so I don't even have to worry about that. That's just plus c squared sine squared of b. Okay, so that's everything simplified there. And then I'm going to square both sides, which just makes it a little bit simpler. So it's b squared equals, that gets rid of the square root. So c squared cosine square root of b minus 2ac cosine of b plus a squared plus c squared sine squared of b. Alright, so if you notice, I have these two terms here. I have a c squared with both the sine and the cosine, so I'm going to actually factor out a c squared out of that. So I get b squared equals, I'm going to put it together, but I'm going to factor that out. So I get cosine squared of b plus sine squared of b minus 2ac cosine of b. And if you recognize this identity right here, sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. So that cancels out, and I wind up just getting b squared equals c squared minus 2ac. I forgot this little a squared here, plus a squared. Forgot that in there. Okay, but c squared minus 2ac cosine of b plus a squared. Okay, so I'm just going to rearrange this a little bit because this is actually not too clean, but it's basically b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of b. This is the law of cosine. And just a couple ways to help remember it. First of all, I can write this, if I would have, instead of written it this way, I could have, or drawn my picture this way, I could have drawn it a couple different ways. But that basically allows me to, let me cursor down here a little bit. So I can write it a couple different ways. I can write it as a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of a. Or I can write it as c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of c. So any one of these is good. Now, again, do you have to memorize all three of them? No. Just recognize that if I'm looking for c, the side c, that also goes with that angle c. Okay? And then I have my a squared and b squared, and I subtract two of those. Don't forget it's minus 2ab. All right? And I know this is a really silly thing to mention, but don't forget it's cosine. That's why we call it the law of cosines. And I've seen mistakes in the past where people use sine, and that's a bad mistake because it just doesn't work. All right, so make sure you use cosine to figure this out, and that's the derivation of law of cosine. All right, that's it, math fans. Bye bye.